The idea behind my project was to emulate an arcade game. The user interacts with the system via a single button, while the project works around them. There are 3 different sets of lights in my system, being 10 LEDs in total, with 2 rows of 5. At the top are 2 white LEDs. These will flash at the beginning of a round to show where the obstacle will appear. Below this, 6 red LEDs. Once a position for the obstacle has been selected, these will light up in sequence, visualizing the time the user has to act. Finally, the bottom 2 LEDs are essentially the player's character. With a button press, the user is able to move from side to side, dodging the obstacle. This game will repeat until the user gets hit, in which it will play a simple animation, signifying that the user has lost and allowing them time to prepare for another attempt. My main loop remains relatively clear during this project, simply calling on other functions in the sequence. The first part of my primary loop will check to see if it's a new game being played. This will result in a pre-coded light show, which will then change a variable titled new game to 1, ensuring that it doesn't run again. Random selection is my next called function. This will randomly select a value from 12 or 13. This correlates to the pin used for my white LEDs. Whichever LED is selected will flicker 5 times before returning the log value it randomly selected onwards. Following this are 3 similar functions, titled row 1, row 2, and row 3. These functions manage which red LED should be illuminated in the sequence. This utilizes the int passed on from the random selection function. By modulating that value, we're able to determine which red LED should be illuminated in each row. Interspaced between these functions is one titled player movement. This function works off of a button state, meaning when the button is pressed, the light will move from its default position on the right hand side of the breadboard to the left. Through this, the user is able to dodge obstacles with only a single button press. My final function here is collision. This function uses the player positioned integer and the random number long given from the previous functions to determine if the user has been hit. This is done by modulating the random number and assigning it a collision unit. These collision units being the pin position of one of the 2 blue LEDs, and then checking if the collision unit is equal to the player position value. In this case, a brief light show will play and the new game integer will be reset. However, if this is not true, the game will simply begin again, skipping the new game function and continuing as normal. Due to the way I coded this project, game difficulty can be easily adjusted by changing the constant integers used for delay times, reducing them to speed up, or extending them to slow the game down.